In South Korea, people are voting in a snap presidential election that was called after the impeachment of the former president, Yoon Suk Yeol. These are the live pictures from Seoul, where polls are due to close at 8 p.m. local time. That's around 3 hours from now. My colleague Steve Lai is there for us and we can join him now. Steve.
Yeah, hi Martine. It's just past 5 p.m. here in Seoul, and as you mentioned, there's just a few hours left before polls close at 8 p.m. The Election Commission has stated that as of 4 p.m., just an hour ago, there was a record high voter turnout of 71%. So we'll have to see what that final number ends at. But it gives you a bit of an indication as to how engaged South Korea's electorate are when it comes to this election. And there are several reasons for that, which I'll run you through, because the last 6 months has been incredibly volatile, or it's been a very chaotic period in South Korean politics. So you might remember that back in December, then President Yoon Suk Yeol declared martial law, and that really cascaded into a whole load of political problems for the country. Mr. Yoon made the declaration in a late-night address that shocked the nation. He cited threats from what he called anti-state forces and North Korea, and in just a few hours, and amid dramatic scenes, the decree was voted down by 190 lawmakers, many of whom felt his decision was motivated by his own political troubles. Now, Mr. Yoon was impeached in just over a week. He had been due to hold office until 2027. His impeachment, though, was then upheld by South Korea's Constitutional Court. And in the 6 turbulent months that followed that martial law declaration, the country has had 3 acting presidents, the most recent being Lee Jae-myung, a former education minister who assumed the role a month ago. So, as you can imagine, 6 months of all this political turmoil puts a lot of interest and a lot of emphasis on who is going to be the winner of this election today, that will be facing a lot of challenges, both at home and abroad, regardless of who takes office. Now, the chaos prompted by that declaration of martial law has festered, with distrust in the political establishment and polarization across the country spreading. And that turmoil is also being felt in the economy, which contracted in the first 3 months of the year, and that was before the full impact from Donald Trump's trade tariffs was felt. South Korea's new president will have to figure out how to negotiate with an unpredictable U.S. president, who has also hinted that he will demand a bigger financial contribution from Seoul to support America's long-standing military presence in South Korea. And then there's South Korea's neighbor to the north. North Korea continues to expand its military and nuclear capabilities and has grown closer to Russia in recent years. Now, with all those factors in mind, South Koreans have a tough choice ahead of them as to who they want to lead their country. Now, let's take a look at some of the contenders and then that are vying for the top job. Lee Jae-myung, he is the candidate from the Liberal Opposition Party. He's seen as the front runner for the job. He's pledged to bring to justice anyone involved in the declaration of martial law. He also says he'll take a softer approach to North Korea, increase government spending, and told supporters that he's in no rush to strike a deal with President Trump. Next is Kim Moon-soo. He's from the ruling People Power Party and was a Labour minister under the former President Yoon, who was removed from office. He's promised to boost the economy, take a tough stance towards North Korea, and immediately negotiate a trade deal with the United States. And there's Lee Jae-myung. He used to lead the ruling party, but now runs as a candidate for the conservative breakaway faction called the Reform Party. His stance against greater gender equality has shown some appeal with some younger male voters. Now, let's dive a little bit more into some of these sort of international aspects that are affecting South Korea, and speak with former Special Forces Commander, retired Lieutenant General Chan In-bum. General Chan, I want to get your thoughts first on the current state of play that South Korea finds itself in when it comes to its security relationships with the United States, and also with the fact that, you know, it's still facing or in a contentious relationship with its northern neighbor.
Yes, Steve, I think you gave a pretty good summary of the candidates and the overall situation to which we are in this position. Security-wise, I think the focus now is rather not on security, but on the economic situation that the common people are in. As you know, consumers are really struggling right now. Small businesses are really struggling, so that's the main focus of the Korean people. But on the question of security, although the Liberal Party wants a better relationship with the North Koreans, I think the real question is, will North Korea answer those kinds of new approaches? And same goes for the conservatives. The conservatives so far for the past 2.5 years have been very tough on the North Koreans. But basically North Korea has decided that they will wall themselves in and truly become a hermit country. So we'll have to see what happens in that area. But what's very important is that our alliance with the United States and the support of the international community, which of course includes the United Kingdom, is a basis for stability in Northeast Asia, and the security challenge must be addressed from those perspectives as well.
Yeah, and elaborate, if you could, then the relationship that South Korea has had in the past with the United States when it comes to its security arrangements. I was saying earlier that President Trump, we know that he's a transactional president, and we've seen how he's been dealing with NATO, its allies in sort of the Western Hemisphere. Are there concerns in South Korea that the transactional nature of President Trump could be a disadvantage for whoever comes into office?
I think most Koreans think that Mr. Trump's approach is transactional. But if you look very closely, what the United States is asking, not only Korea, but of all of its allies, is that its allies do their part. And quite frankly, I think, that it's not an absurd demand. So South Korea has enjoyed our relationship with the United States. It has brought us prosperity as well as democratic and political freedoms, to which we are now enjoying all the benefits of democracy as well as the chaos. So we'll have to see what happens. But although it might seem transactional, I think in the end what the United States wants is a better capable ally who is willing to do their part. And I think that's something that is quite reasonable.
And General Chan, just to get your thoughts, I know you're a military man, but your thoughts on how South Korea's democracy has fared over the last 6 months and its democratic institutions, given the amount of turmoil that former President Yoon Suk Yeol plunged South Korea into when he declared martial law.
Yes, so it's very disappointing as a moderate conservative to see President Yoon do what he did. There's no excuse for his choice of using the military to solve a political situation that we had. But then again, the political situation comes from not only Yoon, but various other parties, which I will not name here. But if you look at the reactions of the Korean people, I'm quite proud of the fact that the parliamentarian system worked, that we were able to prevent martial law from being effective, that the soldiers showed common sense, although the general officers who were immediately under Yoon wavered. The soldiers, the citizen soldiers, they did their job. The whole political turmoil that you mentioned, which was quite embarrassing, but at the same time, the people, the voters, chose their way in a democratic fashion. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed right now. Within 3 hours, the polls will be closed, and within about 7 hours, we will have a new president. Regardless of who he is, I hope he makes the same choices and not get impeached like the previous presidents.
General Chan, we'll leave it there for now, but thank you so much for your insight. Really great to get your perspective today on this snap election day. We've been speaking with former Special Forces Commander and retired Lieutenant General Chan In-bum. Yeah, so as you can see, there's quite a lot at stake here in South Korea when it comes to this snap election. The polls remain open for several more hours to come. They will close at 8 p.m. and that's when the counting starts. We are expecting to have a result sometime in the early hours of this morning because of the nature of it being a snap election, there is going to be an inauguration of whoever is going to be the president, and that's set to take place tomorrow. So things moving very quickly here in South Korea.